Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students of 9C, I am your teacher Muhammad Ilyas, and this is our third interaction regarding biology for Cambridge. In this lecture, we are going to focus on the topic that is respiration, which is from your book, chapter number 8, and according to CI syllabus, topic number 8. The objectives for this topic are these: respiration as a release of energy from food substances in all living organisms, and especially at the cellular level. The equations in words and symbols for respiration, the uses of energy in the human body, the difference of aerobic and anaerobic respiration, and the different organs of respiratory system and their functions. We will be focusing on all these 5 points. So start from the respiration. The definition of respiration: the breaking down of the food in the presence or absence of oxygen to release energy in the form of ATP and carbon dioxide in the cells of the organisms is termed as respiration. So respiration in simple is the process in which we get the energy by the oxidation or breakdown of the glucose molecule. According to the presence or absence of oxygen, respirations can be divided into 2 major groups: aerobic respiration, which requires the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, which does not require the presence of oxygen. This is the equation for respiration. You can see, dear students, the glucose molecule is going to oxidize with the oxygen and produces the carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Another way to express this equation: glucose plus oxygen to combine and releasing the carbon dioxide and water, and a lot of energy is produced. This is basically aerobic respiration, and this energy produced by the process of respiration is used in different activities in the human body. What are those? First of all is the muscles contraction. When the muscle cells in an animal contract to produce movement, they convert the chemical energy from respiration into kinetic energy. The very important function in which the energy from the respiration is used is the synthesis of molecules. Building large molecules from smaller ones required chemical energy. For example, the synthesis of proteins from amino acids. We also need the energy for growth, which involves the building new materials such as proteins, fats, and complex carbohydrates. Cell division also requires the energy. When cell divides, the energy is needed for the synthesis of molecules such as DNA in the nucleus, as well as the movement of the cell's organelles during the process of cell division. We also require the energy for the active transport. The movement of ions in the molecules into or out of a cell against a concentration gradient requires energy, and this energy comes from respiration. We also need energy for the passage of nerve impulses. Nerve impulses are electrical signals that move along a nerve fiber, and this is caused by active transport of ions into and out of the nerve cells. And dear students, we also need the energy for the maintenance of a constant body temperature. We know that the mammals and the birds need a constant body temperature regardless of their surrounding. They have to maintain their body temperature at a constant values, and to maintain this constant body temperature, we need energy. So here are few examples in which we use the energy produced by the process of respiration. Now we are focusing on the types of respirations. First is aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration requires the presence of oxygen, and the glucose molecule completely oxidized with the help of oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, and produces 36 ATP molecules from one molecule of glucose. And this process of aerobic respiration is done in two phases. One phase is completed in cytoplasm and the second phase is completed in the mitochondria, and usually it happens in the higher organisms. Now we are moving towards the anaerobic respiration, don't require the presence of oxygen. In completely broken down the glucose molecules to produce carbon dioxide in case of lactic acid production, in case of alcoholic fermentation, and a little amount of energy is produced. Only 2 ATP molecules per molecule of glucose are produced in aerobic respiration, and this complete process is done in the cytoplasm, and this happens usually in the lower organisms and also in the muscles of the man. Now this is the equation to represent the aerobic and the anaerobic respiration, the both kind of anaerobic respiration, lactic acid anaerobic respiration and alcoholic anaerobic respiration. Now you can see from this equation, glucose in cytoplasm is converted into pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid, if entered into mitochondria, then the aerobic respiration is done, and carbon dioxide, water and energy is produced. And if this pyruvic acid is not going to enter in the mitochondria, it may be converted into two forms. One may be the lactic acid, then this is called lactic acid fermentation, and second is the alcoholic fermentation, in which ethanol or alcohol plus carbon dioxide is produced. Dear students, remember, in anaerobic respiration, very less amount of energy is produced, but this is instant source of energy. Now we are focusing towards the two types of anaerobic respiration. We called it as fermentation, alcoholic fermentation. This form of anaerobic respiration usually takes place in yeast. Yeast are microscopic single-celled fungi. Normally yeast live in habitats such as on the surfaces of fruits, where they can obtain oxygen and respire aerobically. However, if yeast cells are deprived of oxygen, they stop respiring aerobically and start to respire anaerobically. In this case, the product is not lactic acid but alcohol or ethanol along with the carbon dioxide, and a small amount of energy is produced. The glucose is broken down into 2 molecules of ethanol and 2 molecules of carbon dioxide and 2 molecules of ATP. Much chemical energy remains in the ethanol, so this type of anaerobic respiration produces, as I told you earlier, a relatively small amount of energy as compared to the aerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration in yeast is used for making bread, beer and wine, etc. So now we are moving towards lactic acid fermentation. There are certain situations in organisms where cells can respire without using oxygen, and this is called anaerobic respiration, as I told you earlier. During anaerobic respiration, glucose is not going to broken down completely. If it is going to broken down and produces the lactic acid, then this is called lactic acid fermentation, and this is usually happened in the muscles. A limited amount of energy is produced as compared to the aerobic respiration, but this is very much needed. When an athlete is doing an exercise, an intense exercise continues, the lactic acid produces along with the instant source of energy which is needed to the muscles movement, because blood is not going to supply the maximum oxygen when an athlete is doing a very heavy exercise. But the side effect of this, the lactic acid accumulates in the muscles and cause the muscles fatigue. This is another type of fermentation that is called lactic acid fermentation. So these are the two types of anaerobic respirations: alcoholic anaerobic respiration and lactic acid anaerobic respiration. This is also called fermentation. Dear students, after discussing the types of the respiration, now we are moving towards the respiratory system of man. Organs in the body concerned with the breathing are usually called the respiratory system. The structure of the respiratory system, as shown in this diagram, the lungs are contained within the chest or thorax and separated from the organs of the abdomen by a sheet of muscles called diaphragm. The ribs of the thoracic cavity connecting with each other with the help of intercostal muscles. Costal means the ribs, which contract to move the ribs. There are two sets of intercostal muscles. External intercostal muscles, which lie on the top of the internal costal muscles. So there are two sets of costal muscles, internal costal muscles, external internal costal muscles and internal intercostal muscles.